Hello. Coach Tay back here for another round, another game in the College Championship 2021 Finals. Again, Winthrop Eagles versus Maryville, right?
Hello and welcome back, everyone.
So we're gonna get team two. This time I will keep it muted, just for the sake of hopefully not violating any sort of rules coming on. But we're gonna get into it. And again, just disclaimer: I have not seen these games before. As well, I haven't actually seen too much of the college meta, and so if I'm speaking out of turn or if you think that my opinion is wrong in some sort of way, I could be reflecting, opinions based on a much more, LCS, LEC, LCK type level, and so it's very important to note that different scenes, different leagues, different levels of play have different metas, and therefore, whatever we're going into. I could be right, I could be wrong, but that's as always, right? So we'll get right into it. So Winthrop is again taking blue side for game two. Winthrop did win game one. If you do want to go check out that game, I did review it. If you want to go look that up, I did get it up I think yesterday. So again, they're taking away the same ban as they did last time. They did take away the gangplank, but Maryville is learning from their mistakes. They didn't. I guess they didn't really realize how strong Gwen would have been, and they don't have a pick into it. Until last game, they R4'd Renekton and Winthrop B1 to Gwen, and so now they're going to take that away. I do think that this is the best choice they could have gone into, especially because they're going to repeat sides, right? Winthrop is taking blue again, and Maryville is taking red again. So I do suspect, some Lee Sin bans coming out. But again, I just want to reiterate that I think a blue side Gangplank ban does indicate that hybrids cannot play it, which means if they do switch sides again, I do think that they will still look to ban it, because Chippies might be a really good Gangplank player, and banning on a blue side just means that you just can't pick it, you can't play around it, and you just can't really draft around it too heavily. But whatever it is, they're banning it away. It's already worked for game one. May as well keep the same. Same second ban is the Senna ban against Fasting Senna, I guess, is Maryville. They know how to play with it, and it's also going to be good to Kaisa. Who knows, though? They might look to take B1 Kaisa this time around, because maybe they were looking to take it as well. And Maryville had the opportunity when Winthrop B1 Gwen to take the Kaisa, and then maybe it did disrupt their game plan a little bit, but nonetheless, we'll still see what goes on. Might be another Nocturne ban. There it is. It's a decent pick in 11.10, and Frostfort may be able to play it, as well as Doxa, and so you can flex it, as well as hybrids. So three-way flex pick. Lee Sin ban, same three bans coming in from Winthrop as same as game one as game two. And if history repeats itself, if I'm not mistaken, this will probably be a Thresh ban or a what did they ban away? Okay, it's just Thresh ban. Again, Thresh is very, very safe to take. You can play him two different playstyles, with Lantern Max, as well as you're taking Guardian, or you can go take the Aftershock and be a little more aggressive. So it doesn't reveal a whole lot of information as to what your comp wants to do. And again, we're thinking about sides. We're thinking, okay, blue side, you want to hide as much as you can, and similarly with R1, R2, you do want to hide a lot of information, but the R3, R4 picks have a lot of information to use. They have these three picks, which will generally move the blue side comp into some sort of game plan. That's very easy to see. Okay, these guys are going in. These guys want to draft this, whatever. You know what I mean? And hopefully we'll see something like that. B1 coming in from Winthrop is... there's a lot of things open, a lot of junglers open, a lot of ADCs. Okay, they're going to take Varus. So Varus is obviously very, very good right now. Can play many, many different playstyles and is quite oppressive. Has a lot of ways that you can manage the lane, and can pair well with a lot of different supports. You can take the all-in style. You can also take the poke style. But primarily, Varus has received a lot of attention because he received a lot of attention, a lot of coaches and a lot of high elo players, a lot of professional players have given their own opinion on how to play this champion out. And so now, when you're looking at the collegiate level, they have a lot of ways that they can get that information. And we're thinking about what makes champions so OP. More often than not, it's not actually the fact that they're really, really good in a certain meta, but it's rather the fact that, especially when we're talking in light of collegiate, okay, so we're not talking in pro play, we're talking collegiate, the amount of information available on how you can play and how you can, what the strategies are behind playing certain champions, there's so much information available that they're just super, super strong, and you want to take them because you're probably going to be able to know how to play them in a really good way, in an effective way. But R1 coming out with the Rumble here, this is a flex pick. You can take a top jungle mid, but it's probably going to go jungle. And then if I were to suspect, you're going to take some AD, right? And then they're going to take Kai'Sa. Now, I don't think this is the best option. It didn't work out in game one, but also you're losing priority with the Rumble. And a Rumble wants to power farm and then revolve around the ult. However, it has a lot of damage early game, especially playing around the fully stacked passive. But Kai'Sa and Varus here. I do like Kai'Sa here with the Rumble more so than I like Kai'Sa with Morgana, which is what they took in game one. Primarily because Rumble can ult Kai'Sa, and then whoever the support is, maybe it's a mid laner, maybe it's a top laner, whoever's playing the all-in style, who's going to go in, Kai'Sa can follow up, and that champion's pretty much dead. So champions to look out for on the side of Maryville that they might want to draft. Winthrop might want to look out for champions like Yone, champions like Leona, Nautilus, AD champions that are escaping me right now, but more will come, I assume. They might want to go with the Nautilus again. Winthrop did fairly well with the Nautilus, and then they might just handshake the Leona. They are going to go with the Nautilus. Okay, cool. That's what they picked up in game one. They liked the lane out, so I do suspect that R3 might be a Leona. Other than that, they're probably going to take jungle. They're going to take the Udyr. Now, Udyr versus Morgana, okay, one situation or two situation or second situation might be Udyr versus Morgana, which is what game one was, right? I think I like Rumble more than I like Morgana, especially because Rumble is going to be able to have more consistent damage, where Morgana might revolve around CC. But they are going to take the R3 Leona. It was the same matchup they're going to take in game one, which tells me again that they're going to want to play around top side because they're going to lose priority. And so they might want to take another, they might take Camille R4. They might look to take Lucian R4. Yone R4, although Yone might want to come out R5, so we might see a Victor ban, we might see a Cinder ban, but I think Victor is for sure going to get banned away. Do they lose as heavily? I see Victor going to come out. Do they lose it as much as they did game one to range? Yes and no. The only difference here being Rumble, but I think Rumble still would lose to range. So I think that they might just stick with the same two bans. They're going to, right away, they're going to ban Lucian. I think it was very obvious that that's what they want to go for, especially because game one, they wanted to, go for that R4 Lucian so heavily. But now they're going to look to ban away other champions. We'll see here. Might be a, Cinder ban. Okay, so Akali here. Do I like this ban? Well, they're not going to want to go for it because they don't want to have too much magic damage, especially when you're thinking about what Rumble wants to do. Well, it's a lot of power farming, but it's also a lot of, okay, I'm the major source of AP. I don't want them to prioritize building magic resist because if we have a split, we have top who's AD, jungle who's AP, and then mid who's AD. Now all of a sudden, it's very, very mixed damage, and I get to do as much damage as I possibly can. So Akali, I think, is fine ban, especially when you're thinking about low range, and then Akali can pick her own fights. You have a lot of mobility already with Udyr, and you have a lot of setup with Nocturne with Varus and Nautilus. If I were to have to guess what the second ban, it would be from Winthrop. It might be a Yone or Renekton. Okay, so game one was Renekton. Again, we're thinking about 80 champions. So Renekton, so I think they might go with a... Okay, well, they're going to go with a Gnar here. This does allow a lot more engage. It is going to pair very well with a team fight style oriented team comp. So I do actually like this Gnar pick quite a lot. It's perfectly fine blind. But what these Winthrop Eagles might look to draft, we'll have to see. It is going to be a top and a mid. Blind pick still open. We're thinking to ourselves, well, wait, what would be good into Renekton? I don't know if this guy plays any Jace. Jace could be decent here, however, you're not really thinking about... Okay, well, they might just go for the Sion again, although I don't think it's the best option, although it is going to give you a very safe top laner. So they're going to go with Aatrox. Aatrox into a ranged matchup could be alright. You do have the option to take Electrocute. It does favor a team fight-oriented team comp. So right now it's going to be, a lot of team fights versus a team fight comp. So a team fight comp versus team fight comp. A lot of team fights might be going on here, so you want to pair it up with a mid who is going to be Orianna. Udyr Ori is still up, right? So Doxa is going to play Orianna. What might get picked here? Yone is fine. You're going to lose priority though. Tristana is open. I would like this Tristana pick quite a bit. Yeah, I think it's just Tristana Yone, but I think Tristana is going to give you a little more ability to play around mid priority. Or Yone. Okay, yeah, Yone is also fine. Okay, so differences between Tristana and Yone. Tristana is going to give you a lot more priority earlier on, but it might be a little more difficult to play around your team come mid to late for the sole reason that Tristana doesn't have as much self-sufficiency. You do have the ability to, get some resets in with your W. You do have quite a bit of damage if you do have leads, or even if the game is 0-0. But maybe Spyrax isn't as comfortable. You know what I mean? But I do like Yone a lot. You're going to lose priority potentially, especially if Doxa knows what she's doing. I know what he's doing. But I do think Orianna should get priority. But level 6, right? As soon as you have Yone 6 and Rumble 6, it becomes very, very dangerous. And Yone is going to scale like crazy. You're going to have a lot of damage output coming in from your mid laner, your jungle, and your AD. In terms of who outscales who, I do think Maryville does outscale. I do think I like the Leona. I think Leona might have been a determining factor here. If Leona was on Winthrop, it might be a different story. But I do think, though, that Maryville will have the better draft here, just because of the fact that they will hard outscale here. And relatively speaking, you do have priority coming in from top lane. And if you really, really want to, you can, once 6 comes around, if Yone is going to get there, if Yone's going to get there pretty unscathed, you're going to be dealing with quite a bit of a harsh rude awakening. But we're thinking about win conditions. We're thinking about, okay, wait a minute, let's get Yone to get to that point where we can start using ults relatively safely. If that happens, we're going to see some pretty cool plays coming out. Yone being on top of more Rumble, Leona's going to be able to roam. But again here, we're suffering from the same thing as game 1, where Leona wants to play around mid jungle duo, but it's much harder to do so because Nautilus should have first move. Nautilus should be able to have roam timers first. The reason being is because Varus and Nautilus should be able to push in and stack waves against Kai'Sa and Leona whenever possible, whenever they really want to. And the only thing is ultimately at level 6, again, we are thinking stuff should happen, especially with Leona. Because as soon as Leona gets level 6, it does become quite difficult to position for Varus, especially if Varus is going to take heal instead of cleanse. And Varus does end up taking heal. It's quite difficult here to want to take heal, especially when you're thinking about, okay, well, we have Yone, who has quite a bit of range, or pseudo range rather, with E and then alt. And if he has third Q, he can third Q as well as alt. Rumble has pseudo range as well, where the ult can be used as a chase down tool if paired with something like a CC, become quite dangerous, and then Gnar can obviously be very devastating here. So if one person is caught out of position late game, you are looking at a really, really strong pick here, pick potential. But I will want to see how Winthrop do look to utilize the Orianna and the Udyr, because this is ultimately what you're going to be playing around. You're playing around jungle. Are you going to play around bot side permanently, because bot side has a lot of priority. So I want to see coming from Nautilus a lot of pressure. Nautilus has a perfect game here to showcase his ability. I'm not sure how to pronounce his summoner name. Forgive me. But I will want to see how they utilize this Nautilus. Or sorry, not Nautilus. Nautilus. Forgive my slurring. Again, both supports are just going to look to ward that first or that middle bush there. Again, this does just look to negate any sort of early pressure from either team. If they want to pull the wave, they're going to know. If they want to cheese that last bush there, they're going to know. All right. In terms of junglers and what they want to do, I do think, though, that Udyr will want to path down into bot side unless he's trying to cover any sort of dive, but I don't think that's going to be quite possible. Actually, I do think a dive top is possible. You have the damage for it. And if you're able to if you're able to trade HP, if Gnar is able to get some sort of favorable trades going on, you can look to slow push into a third wave crash, and then on that time, roughly around 3 to 315, roughly around 3, forgive me, roughly around 3, you should be able to dive with the Rumble and the with the Gnar there. But I do think, though, that Rumble should look to path up the top. Udyr should look to path down to bot unless he wants to cover, which in that case he can just look to... oh, he is going to look to ward? So what this ward tells me is actually he might be conscientious of the fact that this might be possible. Because Rumble, what he could do is full clear his bot side, and then once Rumble is done clearing his bot side, he could path towards top, and then go straight through the Raptors entrance and go into the jungle and look for that dive. That would be roughly around the timer that it takes. And you would ultimately see this, because if this ward catches Rumble going through here, you can obviously see him. The other thing, too, is that you're going to be able to see his movement, whether he looks to full clear or just do Raptors or whatnot, and what his timer is looking like, if he's behind schedule, if he's ahead of schedule, or whatnot. But I do like what both junglers are doing so far. They're pathing towards their priority, and so plays might be looking to get to be created here. I'm thinking to myself that Winthrop should look to pull this. Winthrop should absolutely look to pull this, because if Rumble starts top, there's no humanly possible way. Okay, so rewind a little bit. These guys, Nautilus should look to blind hook. The reason being is because they want to pull this wave. If they pull this wave, they're going to be able to create favorable trades. They're going to create positional. They're going to force Kai'Sa into positions where if she looks to contest the wave, Varus is going to be able to auto. Varus is going to be able to poke. Nautilus may look for a Q. And I don't think Rumble is ever here in time for if they were looking to force a trade or whatnot. So I think it's a very, very bad decision not to pull the wave here, even if that ward is there in the middle. As we're already seeing, Orianna is looking to push in the Yone. This ultimately would have been reversed if Tristana would have been the case here. But I do see Doxup throwing in random autos here and there. I ultimately think that how this lane should play out early, especially because Udyr is pathing down to bot side, and we do know at this point that Rumble is pathing to top side. We don't know 100%, but we do know that this should be the case anyways, and we will know soon enough. But the basis is that if Orianna is able to look to push this lead down Spirax, down Yone, rather, we should look for a slow push into some sort of cheater. And so autoing and throwing in random autos here and there doesn't make any sense when you're already guaranteed level 2. And if you were to play up just a little bit more, you could look to get some autos in and potentially look to slow push. Again, slow push into crash. And then ultimately you could back, and then you could come back to lane with a lot more of a lead, and now you can push that lead further down Yone's throat. And because we know that junglers are pathing away from each other, that Scuttle Crab isn't necessarily going to be needed to be contested. And also your bot lane is going to secure priority. And you know this because it happened in game 1. Again, that's not the sole reason. It's also because matchups do dictate how this is going to play out. We are seeing trades coming in here and there, but this time we're actually going to see a little bit more of an aggressive ignite coming in from Shady. I don't like this idea at all. I think if you're trading summoners, especially with your jungler playing away from you, it doesn't make any sense, because if you're trading summoners like this now, and this is perfect by Nautilus here, she's playing up. Right? If you play up, now all of a sudden you're the one that's threatened off. You don't have Aftershock anymore on the Leona. You don't have on Nautilus either, but now all of a sudden you can't really ever contest, and level 2 is secured. Now all of a sudden it's very, very easy to play this lane out. Similarly, up in top lane, we use Nara going in for these quick trades here and there, and Chippies is going to push in hybrids, right? And then all of a sudden we did see that Rumble did path over here by Raptors, and so, you know, ultimately, this is actually, I think this happened in game 1 as well, where Doxa had the Gwen and Spyrex had the Renekton. Well, look, Spyrex is level 3 and Orianna's level 2, where Orianna should have the lead here. Orianna should be ahead, but instead, Yone is actually able to get 3 first and go in for this trade. And if you look back to game 1 where I reviewed this, Spyrex had the opportunity actually to hard win that lane on Renekton just by going for a level 3 first, right? And then, you know, he's learning. Spyrex is learning. And now all of a sudden the wave is pushing in, and I don't like this idea to go and ward up topside, because we knew that we knew 100% Udyr started topside. So if he wards, okay, that's a horrible ward, doesn't do anything for you. Instead, ward bot side. Now all of a sudden you can sort of play this bot side pocket, look to shove this in when your E is up, and look to hopefully try and get some sort of lead. Now you want to push this in, because now your wave is in a little bit of a tough spot. Orianna is liking the way that this wave is, because ultimately if you can have the wave frozen under your tower like this, or even you know, having this wave state for as long as possible, just gonna make sure that you can poke, get Q, get Q, get Q. Not for the sake of trading ultimately, but for the sake of stacking up your mana flow band, and that way you can actually look to play the long con. You can try and farm up as much as possible, trade autos if you can, or not trade autos, sorry, rather give autos, and be in a really, really safe spot. You're never gonna have to burn flash here. Rumble's never really gonna come for you, and if you ever do want priority, you can just look to hard shove, invest your mana into hard shoving this, or ask, especially because your Nautilus is going to have priority here, ask for a Nautilus roam, ask for an Udyr gank, right? Then all of a sudden, Spyrex, Yone is in a very tough spot. Now, what's the difference between this timer right here and doing what I said? Because ultimately what Doxa did was slow push first wave into a crash on the second wave, and then the third wave was bouncing back, and then now this is the fourth wave. The difference here is that Nautilus has this roam timer, okay? But here, there's not much to be gained, okay? Especially when we're going to see Nautilus do absolutely nothing. So if Nautilus is going to do nothing, and this, you know, there's nothing really going to come out of this, there's no real point. Whereas you gain you're getting ultimately anywhere from 400 to 450 gold if you're going to look for that base. So it just doesn't make any sense to me to do what Dox is doing right now. Especially, yeah, I just don't agree with the assumption of what Dox is looking to do here. Now, why is Udyr ultimately looking for any pressure? Because, well, he's playing topside pocket, and he knows that Rumble is ultimately topside right now. So forcing a 2v2 would be beneficial for Maryville here. I do think so. And then we do see the Rumble over here. They did have the ward. So right now, Udyr is slightly ahead, but not really by any sort of substantial margin. It is worthy to note that Orianna is looking to be ahead a little bit in this lane. But if you're looking at mana is actually slowly ticking down. Okay, and so as these Qs look to come down, if she's not playing around a mana flow band, especially because she didn't take Corrupting Pot and she's not looking for too much, it's going to be very, very hard to try to move towards, and just as we get into this, I just want to finish this point, it's going to be very hard for Orianna to move towards a crash. If he wants to crash, this exact thing is going to happen. Udyr is going to need to be moved towards mid lane, and ganks are going to need to happen, okay? But not only that, you could force your jungle into a very bad situation because of this need to have Orianna, or need to have Udyr to come mid. And so right now, Dox is actually getting very, very lucky with Udyr, because Udyr can be coming and be saying, okay, I'm going to give up some of my tempo. I'm going to make sure that I make up for what you did wrong, and I'm going to make sure that this wave crashes. Right now, he actually can't, because if they force they're actually going to lose. And so that small little lead that Orianna is getting right now, it's actually going to get slowly diminished. And he's actually going to have to burn TP. Dox is going to have to burn TP here. Actually, TP's top. Both people TP top. Both mid laners TP top. I like the pressure coming out, because if Gnar dies here, this is absolutely huge. Okay, I don't really know about that one right there. Not too sure what he was looking to do. I think he may have wanted to try and flash over the wall and continue chasing down if possible. But I don't see the need, once this TP comes out, Winthrop is saying to himself, okay, we just back up, right? And then all of a sudden, what's it called? Then you're safe, right? You just go on your farm, you pick up whatever CS is in your tower, and you're pretty safe. Now, when you continue to chase like this, what do you gain? You don't gain anything, and in fact, you're actually going to give your life because you chased. Whereas if you both, as the Gnar and the Yone, if you guys just wait it out, you guys just kill this wave, and then now all of a sudden, all this pressure they dedicated towards top goes down the drain. But more so, if you look at mid here, look at the wave. Again, hopefully we can see the wave, but it looks like it's frozen right in front of the tower. And if it's like that, and both mid laners look to invest in a TP top lane, now all of a sudden, Yone is getting leads off of nothing, because this wave is just going to stack, it's going to build up, and then once both mid laners come back to mid lane, it's going to be really nice to see. So now all of a sudden, you're giving up 2 kills for absolutely no reason whatsoever. It's a bit of micro misplay, and this is looking like it's going to be a 3rd kill, and if this happens, yeah, okay, top lane is completely over. This wave, it's looking like 2 waves here. And then also this wave is going to go down the drain. And now all of a sudden Aatrox is fully demolishing and going to be able to get a free base off. Still is going to have TP. If they want to get Dragon, they're going to get for free. However, it looks like they're going to be on it right now. And just as I say that, looks like it was a little bit of a bait. Because if you're thinking what I was thinking, which is that right now so much pressure topside, we're weak side Varus. It looks like Dragon is the play for them. But here, Maryville actually looks to capitalize very well. They do a very good thing here where they say to themselves, okay, weak side Varus is looking to position aggressively. He's looking to show some aggression and position in front of the wave. I don't know if that flash was warranted. Maybe they're like, okay, wait a minute. He could react to the E. So in that case, I think it's fine to flash if that's going to be able to get you a free kill here. But they are just going to look to harsh up this wave and then get a base and whatnot. Oh, he was looking to flash the inner Q from Aatrox. That makes sense. But again, eing forward doesn't make any sense at all. Okay. I wonder though, because death timers are ticking down. It's going to take you like 8 seconds to base. It's going to take you roughly the same time it takes for him to respawn. I think it's more worth it if you have a buy on Kai'Sa right now to just base, because the wave's going to slow push into you. You're still going to gain the same amount of CS as you would if you were to just push this in and have the wave still bounce back into you. The only difference here is that the wave is right here. And so if you want to make a timing for Yone to possibly come back to lane, hit level 6, which he's going to hit level 6 fairly soon, he can just come back and he can make his way down bot lane to bot lane. Same thing for Rumble. If Rumble doesn't have any gold, doesn't need to base, he can just continue to farm bot side camps. You're basing, you come down here, you set up a nice little timer where Rumble can try and come down bot. The wave is going to be situated very nicely. And then this way you're on par with Varus tempo. Because right now what might happen is the lead that you would have gotten, because right now you have to push this in, you have to look to base, and then Kai'Sa is just looking to base right now, and the only problem with this is this wave is going to slow push again into them, but Varus can now look to harsh out this next wave, and if Varus looks to harsh out this next wave, all of these minions, or probably half the wave, goes down the drain. It did look like there was actually a trade going on. Okay, so something was actually missed. Okay, Varus should look to hard trade that wave. I don't know what's taking so long. I don't see any mana being used by Varus. I don't think he's looking to hard shove that wave. I think this is very weird. He didn't actually look to hard shove this wave, and now look at bot wave. If you just look real quick down on the bot side of the map, he didn't look to shove that wave in, and so now it's actually just situated perfectly. Whereas if he just shoved the wave in, he wouldn't have to overextend. So I think this is really bad by Saskio. But nonetheless, Kaisa goes down to bot to pick up that wave. Leona goes from base all the way back to mid. There's still a very good opportunity for them to look mid here. And just as I said before, once jungle mid do hit 6, now all of a sudden you have a very strong early game win con. You're going to use that Yone ult, you're going to use that Rumble ult, and if anything hits, the Orianna is going to die, especially because she doesn't have flash. Okay, so I do hope that Saskio gets punished for not shoving that wave in. Because if it doesn't, okay, this is just really bad. This is really bad. This tells me that Saskio is not thinking right now about the wave. Okay? Because right now the wave is pushing into you. By Saskio queuing this wave, this freeze still stays the same, and your support just burned flash, which means Rumble just needs to deward anything from over here. They're sitting on Leona pink. Leona just pinks this bush, and all of a sudden you can never ever look to step up here, or else Nautilus is going to need to die in order to fix the wave. Really bad Q by Saskio. Now they just given up a free freeze. I don't know why they didn't look to pink this, because they could ultimately, especially when you're thinking about, we have priority mid. Yone is first to move. If something happens bot side, let's just force bot side, and we're really happy. Oh, and then they end up breaking the freeze regardless, so it doesn't actually matter. I'm just eating my words here. Leona, oh my goodness. Never, ever do this. Never, ever do this. Watch what Shady does right here. Right now, the wave is frozen. If they just keep this freeze, these guys can never, ever look to step up. They have to Q to try and to hit CS. And then at that point, you're standing right over here. If you de-ward anything right here as Leona, and you are sitting on a pink ward, all you really have to do is just move in through this. And then all of a sudden, these guys are very sad. And they're crying on themselves because they don't know what the heck's going on. And by Leona instantly hitting this as soon as it hits half HP, now all of a sudden it tells me they have no inclination to try and get any lead off of the fact that these guys did not know how to properly manage their wave. Now you're creating a slow push into them, and now you basically save them, and you basically bailed them out of a bad position. And yes, you can make the argument that Rumble is looking to now be bot side for quite a long time, which means he's going to lose his topside camps, but he's already going to lose his topside camps because we already saw them bot side, and Udyr making and capitalizing off of this very well, and he's going to look to either gank. Now he has the opportunity to look to gank topside. He's doing this because he wants to continue to, put pressure on somebody who's already in the back end, because Gnar, he TP, he died twice in the span of like 20 seconds. He has no flash here. He's going to get taken down for a third time. And now all of a sudden, topside is already gone. And the reason why you should have Rumble to go back down, you should go back down bot side here, is because we're already losing topside so heavily that this, you should just expect to be gone if Gnar is ever in a bad wave state. Because if, Aatrox is positioning his wave perfectly like he is right now all of a sudden, what are we supposed to do? Gnar has to overextend. He's either going to lose the wave or whatever. And if you ever have a pink ward here and you have perfect vision, Gnar can't look to do anything because Frost Force just comes, takes what he wants, and leaves. Now he's going to go for this Rift here. I don't think that's the good idea here. I don't think that's the best idea by any means. I think you should take top side first and then go into, what's it called? Rift. The only reason why you might want to do that is because if you want to think about how much you're giving up bot side, well, that's fine, because now you're thinking to yourself, okay, wait a minute, I can take Rift and then I can go pop top and maybe gank it again because Gnar doesn't have flash yet. If that's what you're thinking, I think it's fine to do what you're doing right now. But I do think, though, in the long-term scheme of things, actually, no, you know what? Because but you do have flash. If Saskia has flash, I think this is fine. To just continue to pressure this wave and try and push off. I think by them moving towards this red buff, I think it's very int. You see what's going on in the map. You know that Udir's topside. If you look for this, you risk getting collapsed on. I think this is very foolish. Okay, Kai'Sa should move. Kai'Sa should move. Kai'Sa has ult. Kai'Sa has ult. Kai'Sa has ult. Kai'Sa ult. 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 No. No. No ult. There you go. And they're just gonna die. Okay, yeah. This moving here was really, really bad. There's absolutely no reason to do this. You just go back down bot, you give up the red buff. You know that Udyr is trading camps. There's just absolutely no reason to ever contest this red buff at all. Sure, they may have gotten one kill, but now they lose multiple waves in terms of gold and experience. So this kill was not worth it whatsoever. You're losing flash now for 5 minutes, and now you're a target. Especially when you're thinking about your top side is hard winning. You have no reason to ever look to play aggressive, and all you really need to do is just stick to what you know, stick to, hey, let our top side carry us. We just need to farm, play it out. We're playing a champion who has range here. If worst comes to worst, we just farm with our Q, and we're fine. We still have flash, we still have heal. We would rather have the case that we can just look to flash out rather than give both of our lives and flash. But again, if you don't have cleanse, you might think to yourself, okay, why didn't I take cleanse? Maybe I should have taken cleanse. And now that I didn't take cleanse, I'm just going to kill myself anyways. Yeah, just really, really bad macro, I think, by the bot lane coming in from Winthrop. Blaylock can freeze. I do like the fact that they are utilizing a freeze here. But at this point, I do think I'm going to stop. I do think that the game is still winnable on both sides. I do think it's much harder to win if you're thinking if you are Maryville rather. In terms of who won the first 10 minutes of the game, I think Winthrop did. If you remove their bot lane. I think their top side, I think Frostforce performed extremely well here. I think he was playing towards where the pressure was, pretty much just where the pressure was, right? He played around his Gnar. He played around the Gnar. He played around his Aatrox. Orianna played extremely defensively. I don't think that the way that Orianna played the waves out was perfect by any means. In my world, anyways. My world could be wrong. Who knows? But I do think, though, that if you're thinking to yourself, we're locking in these champions, and especially because you're blue side and you're very, very proactive with how you draft, primarily because you're normally taking the first step towards, okay, I'm going to blind this champion here, I'm going to blind this champion here. I do think that with what you drafted, I do think the game plan, which was, okay, let's try and play around mid lane and play around the mid lane priority that we're going to get. Awesome. It's just you never really used Nautilus. And the reason why you got the leads that you did is because Maryville messed up quite big. You know what I mean? It was quite a big int coming in from Gnar and coming in from just from Gnar pretty much. I think Chippies did end up throwing it just a bit here. Then did Winthrop really win? I don't know if they actually did win. I'm gonna give it to Maryville. No, I'm not at all. No. I don't know. We'll go undecided here because both teams played very well. But I think that if you're thinking to yourself, who are the weakest points in this game, I think it's heavily Winthrop Eagles' bot side. They didn't play weak side well. They mismanaged their waves, and they ultimately led to the only reason for Maryville to ever get back into the game, which is to trying to defend that red buff. With that being said, I do think that Maryville won the game. Not won the game, but won the early game. So that being said, I hope you learned something from the early game, from Game 2 of the series. If you have any suggestions, anything you might think that, hey, maybe do this, maybe do this, do this, do this, please tell me. But with that being said, I'm going to end it there, and hopefully you can take something away. Cheers, cheers, cheers.